Alright guys, welcome to the kind of post-Evo edition of Beginner Breakdowns. I am Encore, and with me is the picture of KZA that I found on the internet. And don't ask me where I found it, I just kind of found it.
Yeah, that's what I get for having my webcam missing.
Yeah, you know how it is. But we are happy to be back finally. We were gonna go last weekend. Hold on 1 second, my thingy is blasting my ear. Okay, we were gonna be here last weekend, but it was just a matter of circumstance that we weren't really fit to do so. KZA would tell you that he's in a moving transition, and plus I was in a bit of an Evo hangover. Because holy crap, 5 days in Vegas wears on you. You do not even realize. Unless you've been to Vegas, then you really do. But
yep, having been there every other year or so over the last couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, and if you were there, KZA, you would have been right in the middle of it. You understand how it is. We were done. So I went with my brother. It was our first time going to Evo. His first time in Vegas, as a matter of fact. And yeah, some of the stories that we heard and experienced were just so crazy. The first night we were there, admittedly, we got pretty hammered. We shouldn't have. I had a 10 a.m. pool the next morning. I didn't go to bed till like 2:30 in the morning. But miraculously, I actually woke up at like 6 a.m., got our breakfast at the buffet, got in line to get to convention hall, and I actually got some casuals in, no hangover, fresh as a daisy, and ended up going 2-2. Don't ask me how I did it. My body was like, nope, you're not going to be a hangover. You need to get your 2 wins. You're going to get your 2 wins at Evo, and you're going to be happy about it. And I was happy. I didn't even think I was going to win a match. But, you know, that's how it is. I'm happy with how I did in Evo. The rest of the coaches, we did a pretty good job, I'd say. I think the best of us that actually performed well was User, and he went 4-2. He actually lost in like winners finals in his bracket, ended up getting knocked out, unfortunately. So he made it the furthest out of all of us. So it was kind of like disappointing in a way, but we actually had a really good showing, if you ask me. Now, if we had KZA with us, you know, it'd be a different story. I mean, we got that main Geef going. You know how strong he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so enough about Evo for now. So I got some fun stories to tell. We have replays to show because that's what the show is, and we just kind of have to do that because, you know, you just don't want to listen to me talk for the next hour. So, let's get right into it. What's our first freaking matchup? Here it is. We have an Akuma versus... happened. Okay. Oh, God, every time that's loud. That wasn't as loud last time, but fine. Sheriff Officer TJ Hooker. Ooh, that's a good name. I have to remember that one. Thanks for following. But we have an Akuma versus a Balrog. European players, which is kind of a rarity. For the show, at least. We actually have a lot of Euro players in the Discord. But anywho, we figured that this would be an interesting one, considering that you know, this guy named Takedo won Evo. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's a pretty good Akuma player. We thought it'd be appropriate to have an Akuma, at least in the first showing of Beginner Breakdowns after Evo. So, KZA, what do you think about this? We got an Akuma versus this Balrog here, and you know how strong Balrog is. He could just smash his Akuma up. This Akuma definitely doesn't stand a chance.
I mean, Akuma's weak to that explosive damage from Balrog, but on the other hand, if Akuma can get going, as Tokyo demonstrated very aptly at Evo, there's a lot of stuff Akuma can do to score almost as much damage back. The disadvantage is primarily that's a little bit harder and that Balrog has more HP. So, in a way, they're kind of similar characters, very reliant on certain things to approach and then mix you up for massive, massive damage. And I really just think the primary gap is just ease of use and, you know, just having more health. But, you know, at this rank, who can tell?
Yeah, it's kind of tough to tell in bronze because you really don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what kind of skill set these guys have. You really don't know what moves can come out. Because at the bronze level, it's like, you know, do they have their fundamentals down? And that's what like that bronze and silver level is all about, is who has better fundamentals, because 99% of the time that's going to really make the difference. You know, who can anti-air better? Who's got a better idea of how to, you know, do their B&Bs? Who can punish really basic things like sweeps and DPs? You know, stuff like that. Really simple, but very, very important. So without further ado, let's get into the match because... Ooh, you don't want to listen to the game audio. That's disgusting. Okay, let's get into the on-field cam, that nice full-screen view, and see what we got in this match.
Banned stage, too. Can't use that in tournaments.
Oh, yeah, this is banned. This is banned. This is banned.
Fun fact, so that's because Birdie's cans don't show up in the surf, so he can just troll you with them all day. So, Balrog doing the thing where Balrog just throws out dash punches. A lot of people don't know how to deal with it, but it's actually really stupid because, like, it's really easy to counter.
Yeah, once you see him, like, a certain amount of times, that certain amount of times being like a couple thousand, 10,000, whatever, arbitrary number you want to think of, it's actually not so bad because it's like, oh, I know how to deal with this. You can't, like, get it every single time, but you'd be surprised how much more comfortable you are defending against it. And this Balrog is going for some pretty basic mix-ups, as most Balrogs do, but it doesn't seem to do a whole lot because this Akuma is pulling out some solid combos, and he is really close to taking this first match. But this Akuma, Balrog is getting some solid damage in.
There's that explosive damage we're talking about. So both of them basically just did a big combo on each other and did a ton of damage, but honestly, for bronze players, both these guys are fairly cautious. Neither of them is, you know, there's a lot of moments where they're both standing there and just kind of waiting to see what the other guy's going to do, which is not a thing you see a lot of in bronze. And I think for those of you watching who are in bronze or near bronze and would like to get better, that's something you should be thinking about more. Like just stopping for a second and just trying to see what the opponent is going to do rather than just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, and kind of, you don't want to be too cautious, but no, you want to set the table for your, you know, you want them to play your game, but you also don't want to overextend because that's a good way to get your face crushed. But both these players are actually playing pretty well for being in bronze, if I say so myself.
Yeah, neither of them are throwing out truly random stuff. You know, they're abusing certain moves a little bit more than is wise, especially the Balrog with those dash punches. And neither of them is just like, a common problem for bronze players is what I'm just going to call doing stuff. And that's where you see people just throwing shoryukens or, you know, hitting a button out in the middle of nowhere for no real reason. To have a plan, even if the plan is dumb, it's better than not having a plan.
That is true. That's a really good point. Because if you have at least something to rely on, some sort of foundation, that really makes a difference down the line.
Okay, so now this Balrog's about to die, so he doesn't want to commit to anything, so he's just sitting there waiting for the other guy to fuck up. And that's a perfectly valid thing to do. That, you know, especially if the other guy is just not paying attention very well, because then could have finished him there, should have E-trigger canceled that and just done him.
My heart.
Oh!
No, no.
Oh,
my god.
So, and that's an example of why you learn your combos, ladies and gentlemen, and why you get those confirms down, because if he had confirmed either of those last two hits properly, that Akuma would have been dead.
There we go. Yeah, it was alright. Okay, no. Got that. Okay. So, that match hurt my heart because a lot of reasons. If anyone doesn't know, I play Balrog a lot. Balrog and Bison, and yeah. A lot of missed opportunities. That was Balrog's round on like 5 different occasions. But, you know, you gotta let bygones be bygones. But, you know, these were some solid bronze players. And I've seen a lot of bronze players in Discord, and this is something I would like to see from a lot of people who come through. You know, they had a general game plan. It wasn't fantastic, but it was something. It was a foundation, or at least a semblance of a foundation. No, Balrog is going for dash punches. and he knew his general V-trigger setups and the like. You know, it's not everything, but it's something to start off of. It's a nice little, you know, starter edition, if you will. And this Akuma was somewhat doing the same. I was focusing more on the Balrog for obvious reasons, but, you know, as KZA said, this Akuma was actually doing a fairly good job of what Akuma should be doing, and also not getting beat up all the time. So, you know, what's your closing thoughts on this, KZA? You think this, how do you think this Akuma did?
So, what I'll say is that he bungled some things, and he definitely did a couple of unsafe things. I saw a couple of really stupid teleports that he got away with, basically because the Balrog didn't know what the heck was going on, which, you know, speaks to an experience and just not knowing what you're doing it. But on the other, that doesn't mean he's bad. It means that he's actually pretty good for what he is, and he just needs some time to, you know, iron out those like bad behaviors and such. Like, he had a plan, he stuck to the plan, he got his damage where he could take it. He compared to Balrog, didn't drop a lot of stuff. You know, he got these nice, solid, fairly simple confirms. He didn't go for anything too fancy, but you don't need to go for fancy things in bronze. You just need to play solid, and that appears to be what both players are trying to do, and that's a big thing for a lot of people. Just learning how to play solid and not do dumb things just because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and a good way to find out what dumb things are, or what not to do, is to, one, look at your own replays, find things that you did that screwed you up. It's like, should I have DP'd right there? Probably not, because I got crush countered for 40% of my health. Or should I have thrown that arbitrary sweep out of nowhere? No, because I got knocked down, then this Geef has SPD'd me 4 times in a row. Also, what helps is watching other people's replays, especially people with higher rank, because it gives you an idea of what you can evolve your character into down the line. You know, if you're in bronze, look at gold players. If you're in gold, look at platinum and diamond players. And if you're in diamond, look at, you know, all the master players and top players and the like. You know, I wouldn't, if you're in bronze and you're watching, like, Takedo and Itazan and all those guys, it's like, it's probably not the best, because that's kind of a massive leap. It's about as massive as it gets. But when you're learning Street Fighter, you gotta take little baby steps when you're learning. It's a long road, and it's a long road for a reason, because you can't just hop from beginner to, you know, world master contender. It just doesn't work that way. So, you know, you gotta take the baby steps, learn things one step at a time, but you do learn it. It just takes a little while. So that's what I feel is a good little end point on this video, at least. So let's move on to the next one. Oh, nope. Here we go. Okie doke. So,
this is a rare matchup, and also a rare one, because this one comes straight from Evo.
This is straight from the floor. And I never thought we would actually be doing this, but by God, we are. So, before we get into this, we're gonna do a little shout out, because this came straight from, Avenjar. Thank you for your submission. And he said, this is my replay from Evo of me losing, so spoiler alert, he lost. And he's the Fang player. Nothing else, so that's what we got. So this is a Fang versus a Rashid. This is kind of an interesting matchup, because these are two characters that aren't really played all that often. Fang mostly. Rashid is kind of making a resurgence, but still pretty rare.
Made it to top 8 in Evo.
Yes, he did, and he is now solid and incredibly fun to watch, even if he didn't do all that well. Alright.
Moke really did come out of nowhere and surprise everybody, much like Rashid himself. That's like player matches character.
Yeah, that is true. You know, I'm trying to find some point to talk on, but I'm gonna give a full disclosure. I really do not know as much as I would like about these two characters. I know more about Fang than I do about Rashid, because, you know, I gotta represent my Shadowloo boys. But, you know, this is This is an odd one, I'm gonna have to admit. So why don't we just get right into the matchup and see what we got.
The best way I've heard to think about Rashid is kind of like a more offensive Nash. Very movement-based, but with stronger block strings, and especially the mix-up into spinning mixer.
Yeah, I'm still trying... Yeah, I can't believe we're actually showing this. We've reached a new low on the show, guys.
So... drops that a little bit, but so this is what Fang tries to do against most characters, especially against characters that are dependent on getting in, like Rashid. You throw out those big long limbs, try to clip them, maybe get a simple confirm, keep that poison on them. But the problem is that I think Rashid is among those characters is going to be the one that's going to give Fang pretty much the most possible trouble because he has so many different ways of approaching. You know, he has his Eagle Spike, which Fang has a fair amount of trouble punishing just due to the amount of bounce back it gives. You don't get a very big punish on his Fang. Oh. He's got that low roll. He's got the tornado walk up. He just has so many ways to put Fang in pressure, and Fang does not do well under pressure.
Yeah, and I'm gonna capitalize that was probably a bad idea on the slide to put himself in the corner, because Rashid does wonders in the corner, and Fang does the complete opposite when put in the corner.
Yeah, so in the corner, Rashid can jump off the wall, which can create this funny double cross-up situation where you're really confused. It's like, so... part of it is that Fang is just not great in this matchup. Part of it, too, is it looks like, I would say, Avenger here doesn't have very much experience playing against Rashid as Fang. Like, he's letting this Rashid get away with a lot of stuff that is frankly complete bullshit, is what I would put it as. Like, anytime he does those Eagle Spikes and Fang, isn't in the way, that's a huge punish he can get if he passes over his head. But he's letting him get away with it. Similarly, Tornado Walk Up, tries to go through it, that doesn't work. This is playing as Fang, you have to be extremely matchup knowledgeable. And playing against Rashid, you have to be extremely matchup knowledgeable, because Rashid is confusing.
He's very fast, and I can't see the screen because there's anime in my way. Okay, yeah, Rashid's a very confusing character, and he's kinda... it's tough to predict if you don't know what to look for, but it is a lot of shenanigans, and once you figure it out, it's like, oh, this isn't so bad. But you do have to figure it out, and it is a bit of a process to do sometimes, especially with these sorts of characters.
So some tips against Rashid: anytime you block those flying kicks, he is punishable. You just have to figure out what your character can do. It leaves him a long way away, so you have to but it leaves him super minus. So you just got to figure out what button you can hit.
Ooh.
Yeah, see that's that corner cross up. Did you see that? That is so. Actually, let's rewind that real quick, because that's a really good thing to break down. One, why you don't want to be in the corner, and two, what happens in the corner. So Rashid puts himself in the corner there, which is a little dangerous, but it's because what he's going for is the corner cross-ups. You're in the corner, and this guy is jumping at you. Well, you'd think that he can't cross you up anymore, but you're wrong. Even when your back's to the wall, certain characters with jumping moves with fairly small hitboxes, like crouch standing jumping lights, can still cross you up. So he manages to block it there, but I guarantee like 90% of the people in this room, in terms of the Twitch room right now, totally would have gotten hit by that. I probably would have gotten hit by that. It's super hard to see. That's one of the big reasons against most characters you really don't want to be in the corner. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons, but that's something you just got to learn to watch out for. So while we have the opportunity to break it down for you, I wanted to look at that, because you're going to encounter it. It's going to suck. You have to learn to expect it and either block it or anti-air them.
Yeah, when you're learning how to play Street Fighter, you're going to get hit with every single gimmick in the book, and there's no way around it. You're going to be beat by him, you're going to lose rounds to him, you're going to lose matches, you're going to lose ranks. And it's honestly the only way you're going to learn not to get hit by him. And it's all just a lesson in muscle memory and recognizing the patterns. I got a first-hand experience because I did this to countless amounts of players, because I made it all the way from rookie to platinum with M. Bison, and I just completely destroyed people with EX double reverse and head stomps and stuff like that because so many people didn't know how to deal with it. But once I got to like the platinum level, can't do that anymore. People know how to beat it. It just didn't work. So part of that's like, don't rely on gimmicks if you're someone who does that, but if you're having issues dealing with these gimmicks, part of it is just falling for them a certain amount of times till the point you recognize them, and you're going to lose to them. There's no way around it. No one can just spot these things the first time it happens and be like, oh, I know what to do. I can beat this right away. So yeah, Rashid's one of those characters. Gotta learn the patterns, the gimmicks, and all the little flippy, tricky stuff that he does, because there are some ways to circumvent a lot of them. Some characters, you know, if Rashid hits the V trigger right up in front of you, if you V reversal out of it, with some characters, you can just completely beat it out. V reversal would beat his V trigger. Something simple like that. Not every character can do that. Balrog, for example, can do that, and Cammy can do that. You know, just to name a few. But yeah, there's little techs, I guess you'd call them, to circumvent those little situations. So, KZA, what do you think? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, we're dedicating a lot of analysis to Rashid here, so I just want to quickly mention Fang. When you talk to Fang is one of those characters, another one of those characters that you'll get beat by a lot if you don't understand him, and then you'll start to understand him and then beat his ass because he's not actually all that great. The key trick to learn is that, like, a lot of the invincible stuff he throws out where he's got, like, the poison wall in front of him or the poison balls in the air actually isn't all that safe for him, and that you should, you know, have a way to get around it. So both characters that have a lot of gimmicks that don't have enough time really to break down in full. Both characters I strongly recommend if you're having trouble against, you go to the Discord, you find someone who plays that character, and you ask them, because it's really a lot about knowledge for those guys, even more so than it is for everybody.
Yeah, go to our Discord and learn stuff. That's all we're gonna say. Okay, so, oh yeah, one last thing about Fang, in case you already kind of touched on it. There's little ways to get around the projectiles too, and quick one with Rashid is, I believe, his down V skill, the little roll that he does. Get a roll kick, and you're golden. There you go. That one's for free, along with all of our other advice, because we don't charge anything. Okay, so let's get out of here, and before we actually get into that, we're gonna do station identification, because we're just going to. So, if you don't know already, we're a new challenger. We coach fighting games because we need to teach people not to be free, because if we're going to be completely honest, it sickens us to see people suck at fighting games. Kappa, we don't actually think that, only in secret. But if you want to become a better player, fighter, whatever you want to call it, we pretty much offer anything you'd ever want to improve by the way of tournaments, coaching, and just giving a general learning atmosphere for learning and just becoming a better player. So come on down, you got all the social media on the bottom there. You can find your way around, you have all the access, all the resources, so don't squander them, because we will be sad. Okay, let's get our next video up, because we are on a tight schedule. Just kidding, not kidding. Okay. Come on. Come on, video. There we go. Video sharing. Okay, so our next video, can't do that, is from, alright, our next video is from Charity, and he says, let's go back to the screen. He says, hello, I'm rather new to Street Fighter and fighting games in general. I'm still currently a rookie, but interested in seeing where my training has been lacking. So, thank you, Charity, for the submission, and we will do what we can to make sure you can become a better player. So, what can see in your match that can make you a better player? First off, as we see, this is a Ken versus Ryu, classic Destiny battle, Shoto versus Shoto. Now, these are both rookie players, as we can see already. So KZA, this is a simple matchup. These are pretty much mirror characters in general. So, I know you're probably thinking Ken has this match just based on pure buttonsry, just being able to screw around with somebody, because Ryu's pretty vanilla when it comes to screwing around with anybody. And also, yes, this is Bananakin. This is the Bananakin. This is my favorite color too. This is the one I always use. But yeah, I think Ken's got this. What do you think, KZA?
Overall, yeah, I would say so. I think there's definitely kind of a weird, like, U-shaped thing where initially Ken is really good because you don't understand how to stop him, and then he gets bad for a while as the gimmicks stop working and characters who force you to play more solidly, like Ryu, start winning, and then he gets really good again when you get to the crazy level of people like Eita, who just seem to be able to read your mind and do incredibly stupid stuff that works. But at this level, honestly, it's another one of those things where Ken beats people who don't know stuff. Like, Ryu requires you to know stuff to win. Ken only requires the other guy not to know anything.
That is actually a fantastic quote. I might have to remember that one for a long time. Ken is just, I won't DP. You can trust me. You can totally trust me. Okay, let's get into the match because we just want to. Okay.
Alright, so this Ken's actually pretty cautious. Neither of them's playing, like, I was expecting one of them to run forward at the start, and so they're beating my expectations. Should have anti-aired that. Don't know why he stopped blocking there and got swept.
Good air to air.
Yeah, for rookies, these guys are actually playing very smart. Kind of like we said, the bronze guys earlier, they're not doing dumb stuff for the sake of doing dumb stuff. They're both kind of probably giving too much respect to the opponent is actually the problem here. Like, when you're both playing that cautious, one of you should be trying to get in. But neither of them is doing anything like super dumb. I think Ryu's just doesn't understand like where Ken can continue his offense is hitting buttons into frame traps.
Yeah, and I feel like Charity here just doesn't have a really good handle of BMBs and general combos to rely on, or decent basic combos, really get knockdowns and the like. And I think that's what's killing him here.
Ooh, that's good though.
That was a solid confirm.
Yeah, it might have been an accident, but who knows? So
Give
one thing,
so
one thing you can see in this match that is super common at low ranks and is a super bad habit. Don't do this. Both of them are using a lot of raw sweeps. Do not do raw sweeps. They are incredibly unsafe.
Yeah, it's super dangerous, and even though you may get a knockdown, here's that, Patton and Ken DP.
Yeah, can't blame anyone. See, okay, so now this Ken's getting a little silly. He's just throwing stuff out there because he's realized, or they kind of realized that.
Oh my god.
That was actually kind of godlike.
Yeah, this is a godlike Ken. We're done here.
Yeah, so what happened there right at the end? Just rewind like about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So right here, he's in the corner, and then Ken just starts hitting things because he's realized that our friend Charity is just blocking. He's not doing anything to try to challenge those. And so he can just do this dumb stuff. And that shows that this Ken has some game sense going on there, because like if Charity had like thrown out a heavier limb while Ken was just flailing there, he probably would have crush countered him and gotten something out of it. But Charity didn't know what to do when the guy was just slightly out of range and throwing buttons to catch his buttons. And so that's a thing you'll see in the corner at every rank is throwing stuff out like just at that range in the corner, because what you're trying to do is catch the other guy doing something. And the problem there was that Charity didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and that was causing problems here and there. Freaking video. Stop being a fool. Stop. Okay, so back to discussion time. Yeah. Charity just needs to work on some things, and he even said when he was in this little submission that he's, you know, fairly new. So that's alright. Everyone starts at, you know, square zero. So if there's anything to take away from this, in case you already touched up on a lot of it, you know, learn those fundamentals, get comfortable with your normals, learn some simple B&Bs, and learn when to use your specials. And I feel like that's a good stepping stone to generally learning a character. You know, and that's really all you can say. A lot of the practice is on your part. Just get in the training mode, work on it, grind it out, and before long you'll be like, hey, I actually know what I'm doing. I feel comfortable. This character actually feels somewhat like an extension of my body. And it's like, you know, I can make things work now. I can get knockdowns, I can confirm into special moves, you know, I can combo into fireballs. Just those little things you do when you first start out that make you feel special. Happy because it's like, oh, I can play fighting games now. I'm special. So,
the other takeaway from that whole match pretty much was that there's two reactions when you don't know what the heck's going on in a match, right? There's what Charity kind of fell into there, which was not doing anything and just blocking, and then, you know, getting slowly cracked open. And there's starting to hit stupid stuff in hopes that it works. And neither of those are really good, but you need to start kind of getting the sense of when one of those two isn't working and trying the other, even if you're not, because you know, you've always got to try to win. And so sometimes you'll be in a situation where you just plain don't know what you're doing against certain things, because like you've never run into that character before, or this guy's playing him weird or what have you. And so you have to get the feel of when you can just go ahead and try something anyway, because you're always going to lose if you just stay on the defense.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a good point. You can't play too cautious because, you know, at that point you're just playing your opponent's game, and if you let them do that, you're gonna have a really tough time getting out of that hole. That's really all there is to say.
So, you know, a lot of the times we advise caution, but too much caution is just as bad as too much aggression.
Yep, you gotta find a happy medium. That's the trick. It's a tough one, but it's the one that has to be done. So, let's see here. Yeah, we're gonna move on to our next and last video, which is another Ryu, but versus a Cammy this time.
That's probably the most fundamentally matchup we're going to have in this whole thing.
That's what I'm saying. This one is going to be like, yeah, Cammy is like one of the easiest characters to get a handle of, and I actually do like playing her a lot. She's super fun to play. So, before we get into that, this comes from Artur Bodarelli, so thank you for your submission to Beginner Breakdowns. We appreciate any and all submissions that y'all bring in. So, he says, I was away from the game for a year or so and came back very recently. My routine is 5 minutes of training, anti-airs, and fireball options. Set a Ken to jump-ins and throw fireball, so it gets random. And 5 minutes of practicing B&B combos. I noticed I still miss a lot of punishes and drop a lot of combos. I can reliably confirm into my specials and V-trigger, and also when I'm nervous, I tend to throw unsafe special neutral. So, again, thank you for your submission. So
already I can see this guy's gonna get somewhere, because we don't get a lot of the things we don't see a lot of the time in the submissions is recognitions of like what they're already doing wrong, and this guy already kind of has a handle on a couple things that, you know, we'll see if he actually does them in this match, but those are very, very common screw-ups, and the fact that he recognizes them, that's a big step, and that's something, you know, everyone watching and even us need to remember a lot of the time is, you know, the first step is recognizing you have a problem.
Yeah. Just like, Yeah, you gotta recognize you have a problem. It's the biggest thing. Okay. But yeah, that was a really good point. And you will never stop doing that. It doesn't matter if you're just learning Street Fighter or you are literally one of the best in the world. There's always things you're gonna learn. There's always stuff you're gonna find in your gameplay you need to improve on. We are all students and we never stop being students. So, let's get into this match and see how this one goes. My money is on Cammy because holy crap, she can do some damage. Alrighty. And going with the plain default 1 colors on both sides, this is getting a little too Street Fighter 2 for my taste.
No, they're not going to start spamming Shoryukens, so...
Oh.
So, right there, this is an example of a strategy everyone needs to learn to beat, the jumpy player. This Ryu is just jumping, so what this Cammy should be doing is hitting that DP. Tried it there, corner screwed him up, but just every time he sees that jump, DP comes out, or something.
Yeah, Cammy has too many anti-airs and not utilize any of them.
A hint there, if the guy is jumping away from you as Cammy, or any other character with a long attack like Balrog, if they're just doing that stupid jump back thing, throw out like a spiral arrow or a dash punch and they'll probably land right into it. So, this Ryu is using a very simple strategy because it's working. He's jumping in. If it's blocked, he tries to throw. If it's not blocked, he just continues. And that is a strategy that you will see a ton of early on. And the way you beat that, and the reason this guy isn't beating it is drops the combo, is you just have to anti-air. Also, again, those raw sweeps, stop doing them.
Yep, raw sweeps, don't do them. Every time you do one, you make one of us cry. Okay, so this is... Ryu looking right at the camera.
That was a brutal beatdown.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. So, this is easy to break down. Anti-air, anti-air, anti-air because it's such a good move. And I even see pro players not anti-air. I was watching Evo, and I swear I was having like heart palpitations because I saw, even in grand finals, like Takedo not anti-airing certain things. But I don't even think it was like a bait thing. He didn't even follow up with anything once Punk landed in front of him. I don't know, it just it bothered me. As like a coach, it gave me weird feelings. But yeah, anti-airing is such a good move in this game, and when you learn how to utilize it, literally it can move you from bronze to silver just based on that. It's insane. And yes, we all would have been hyped to see a Cammy air throw, as we all are. I actually hit one of those against Abigail. It was the greatest looking thing I'd ever seen in my life. But yeah, anti-airs, stop sweeping just randomly, it's bad. So, KZA, how much can you tell us about how important it is to AA and generally be a fundamental character?
I wasn't going to say much more about that. I mean, that's clear as hell. The other thing that we can see in that matchup is the importance of spacing for anti-airs, because, like, let's just kind of start that match over from the beginning on the grounds that, it's fairly short. We can kind of watch through it again as I talk here.
Yeah.
So watch here. So this Ryu starts jumping, gets the first anti-air, walks toward him, gets crossed up. You can't cross up like that in mid-screen unless you give them the space to do so by walking up there and then failing to do anything with it. If you're getting crossed up in midfield, it's because your spacing is wrong. You're getting too close and letting them jump over your head without throwing out something to stifle a jump. Cammy should never be in that space. If Cammy is in that space, a standing MK or a crouching MK should be getting thrown out to pin the opponent to the ground and also potentially, clip them and confirm into a spiral arrow. And that's what I keep talking about, the importance of spacing. That's the sort of thing you have to think about if you're getting caught by that sort of thing. It means you're trying to get too close. There's almost no character who doesn't have a move designed pretty much for about that range to tell the opponent, hey, keep your feet on the ground, you're not crossing me up.
Yeah. it's kind of rough to watch, but it's understandable. We were all at this point before, and even like right there, we knew what Arter here was going for, but it was just a little too late. Got hit with a huge EXDP, and just was too little too late. Sad, but that's what happens.
Yep, so, I mean, beating jumpy characters is two parts. One part's easy, which is figuring out what anti-airs work and how to time them. The other part is getting your spacing right so you can get those anti-airs out in time, which takes a little bit longer, but it's something that that's just something you just got to keep playing. It's very, very difficult to practice outside of an actual match because spacing is so dependent on what the opponent is doing.
Yep. So, yep. Anti-air. Just anti-air a lot. That's all I can say. Simple. And once you learn how to do it, it will change your life. It's like... yeah, we can't even emphasize it enough. We've already said anti-air about 30 times already. So, we pretty much know what we're going to call this episode. It's going to be beginner breakdowns, anti-air, anti-air, anti-air. So, interesting match here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that is the end of the road on our little journey on this Friday night. Oh, it's sad. We're just getting to all the fun too. But that's pretty much gonna do it from us here at New Challenger. And even though I do have a lot of Evo stories to tell, I think they're just gonna have to wait, because we may be doing a Mounts Dojo here in the near future. Just kind of going over some of the coaches' experience as we all got out there to Vegas and Evo, and go over our experiences and all the fun stuff like that. And no, if you submitted one late, it is still eligible. They don't really become uneligible.
Well, they do eventually, because Capcom recycles CFN replay IDs, so eventually they fall into the abyss, but not quickly.
Yeah, that is a good point. You just have to catch them fast enough. So, yeah, that's really the only thing, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's really not that big a deal, but yep. Just be on the lookout for any Mounts Dojo announcements or any of the like, or you could just come find me and I'll go over a little story time or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure something out, but that's pretty much going to finish up from here. I am Encore, and with me as always is KZA.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, everyone have a good night. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Don't DP on Wake Up. Backdash out of those SPDs. And all that good stuff.
DP on Wake Up judiciously.
Yeah. I.e. every other time. Let's go with that. Alright.
Alternatively, figure out what the heck Ada's on and steal it.
Yep. Let's do that. It's good. That's good advice. Crystal advice. Alright. Good night, everybody. Catch you next time.
Later.